What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our predictions for Thursday Night Football's matchup between the New York Giants and the Washington Football Team. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, week 2 is about to kick off, and we start off with one of the biggest division rivalries we have to offer in the NFL, the Washington Football Team, the New York Giants. This is the battle of I-95 and a bloodbath at that. These two teams do not like each other, and there is a lot of hatred here. I'm excited for this matchup. How about yourself?
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really good matchup as we have the Washington defense up against an absolutely overhauled offense for the New York Giants. I know they didn't perform in week 1, but I think that things might change in week 2. Saquon Barkley got his feet wet a little bit, and he's fully ready to go. I think that this is going to be a revitalized offense for the Giants that are going to make this game very competitive, very fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are dealing with a numerous amount of injuries, and honestly, some bigger than others. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, the starting quarterback for the Washington Football Team, ruled out indefinitely, put on IR for his hip subluxation. And now say that 3 times fast. But at the end of the day, this guy's going to go through some rigorous rehab to get back, and he may never play football again. But right now, the Washington Football Team have to focus on who they can put out on the field, that being Taylor Heineke. They are going to have a lot to put out and prove on the football field. This is a team that won the division just a year ago, and they are going to be looked at with targets on their backs.
Yeah, I really like what the Washington football team have to offer. And honestly, this is going to sound a little harsh, but I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick getting hurt was actually the best option for the Washington football team. Having Taylor Heineke out there is much better for this offense. He is much more explosive. He can move with his feet. He can run out of the pocket, and he's not afraid under pressure. And the ball looks great coming out of his arm. Ryan Fitzpatrick just doesn't look how it used to. And I think that Taylor Heineke is going to surprise a lot of people. It's going to be just like what we saw in that divisional matchup against Tampa Bay last year. But as I mentioned for the Giants, we have an overhauled offense. Saquon Barkley, he didn't look so hot in week 1. He only had 4 carries for minimal yards, and I think that's going to change completely this week. I believe that Joe Judge saw exactly how stagnant this offense was, just throwing the ball the entire time. Daniel Jones needs to have that offset. He needs to have a running back like Saquon Barkley if he's going to be successful. Now with Kenny Golladay there, Kadarius Toney's coming back into the fold. I think that this offense is fully ready to go, and it's going to be one great matchup against Washington, a team that they face every single year, twice a year. They know this defense in and out, and I think they're ready to take advantage of them with their new weapons. I want to see that this offensive line improves tremendously. They need to if this team's going to have success. Daniel Jones is not a guy who can sit in the pocket and just throw the ball accurately with a guy in his face. That's just not how he operates. He needs to have a clean pocket as long as possible. Andrew Thomas and Nate Solder are not doing the job right now. They need to get stronger. Nick Gates has to do a better job at center. All around, this offensive line needs to improve for everything else to work. You saw what went wrong for the Packers. It stemmed from the offensive line. Same thing for the Giants right here. They need to get this going because the Washington defensive line is one of the most scary defensive lines in the NFL. And if Daniel Jones is going to have any sort of success this week, they've got to keep him upright.
Absolutely. You mentioned it. The Washington Football Team defense is one of the scariest defenses all around. Not just the defensive line, but every single level of this defense has immense amount of talent that they can just throw at you any which way. Just taking a look at this roster really quick. Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat. That is their starting 4 on the defensive line. There is not a single hole that you can find there, with Matt Ioannidis and Tin Settle sitting in the back waiting to be rotated in in. These guys are going to come in with healthy and fresh legs. They're going to come in with a passion wanting to get after the passer. And in this case, Daniel Jones, with this offensive line in front of him, they're going to try to eat him alive. At the second level, you have guys like Jamin Davis, the rookie linebacker, on top of John Bostic and Cole Holcomb. These guys are really good in pass coverage as well as being able to disguise blitzes, and their ability to stop the run is one of the best things that this defense has to offer. I like all facets of the front seven of this defense, and then on the back end, you have guys like Bobby McCain, Landon Collins, William Jackson, the big free agent signing, and Kendall Fuller at the opposite cornerback position. These guys are no joke, and they are going to lock down opposing wide receivers. And again, in this case, you're talking about Kenny Galladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. These are the guys that they are going to go after and go after hard. I'm excited to see this matchup play out.
Absolutely. For the Giants defense, this is the strong point for the team. This is where Joe Judge has gotten his guys ready. On the front line, we have Dexter Lawrence with Austin Johnson and Leonard Williams in the middle and Lorenzo Carter on the opposite side. This front line is going to get tremendous pressure with the Washington football offense being honestly the weak point of their team still. I think that they still have room to improve. They lost Morgan Moses and really didn't find a solid replacement for him. I believe that there are some holes that will be exploited with Joe Judge as their head coach. And then you got to look at the middle of the field with Blake Martinez locking it down. This guy has been a beast his entire career, completely underrated, balled out in preseason, and he's going to continue that, especially against a team that he knows through and through. I believe that Blake Martinez is going to have to be the guy to help this defense be successful. The secondary is absolutely star-studded. James Bradbury and Adoree Jackson at corner with Jabril Peppers and Logan Ryan as their safeties. Very strong secondary that they're working with, and that is perfect. Last week, they got tested against one of the stronger offenses with the Denver Broncos. This week, they don't have to worry as much as they're facing Scary Terry, but then it drops down to Adam Humphries and Logan Thomas. So the level of offensive players that they have to go up against is not as strong. I think that they'll be able to handle these guys. It's a step below of what they had to go up against last week, and I think they're more than ready to take on this challenge. I think that this is going to put a lot of pressure on the Washington offense, and overall, this is just going to help the Giants offense out as they're not going to have to score every single drive that they're out there. This is going to be a very defensive-heavy game overall, and I believe that this is going to help Daniel Jones get a little bit more comfortable going into his third season.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. This is going to be a defensive battle, but on the offensive side of the ball, it all starts in the trenches. And if they're going to stop guys like Leonard Williams, Queedy Pay, and Dexter Lawrence, then it starts with Sam Cosmi, Brandon Sheriff, Chase Roulier, Wes Schweitzer, and Charles Leno Jr. These are the guys that are going to be protecting not only these are the guys that are going to be protecting not only Taylor Heineke, but creating holes for Antonio Gibson and JD McKissick. This offense is predicated on timing and the ability to get the ball out in rhythm. And with Antonio Gibson coming out of the backfield, he presents a massive problem for the lacking linebacking core that the New York Giants have. I really like the way that this roster is built. I would like it a little better if Curtis Samuel were here, but he is placed on IR right now. And you mentioned Terry McLaurin, Adam Humphries. I like these guys a lot. But don't forget about Cam Sims and Diami Brown. These guys both got the same amount of looks from Taylor Heineke last week, and they are going to be on top of their game. They are speedsters that can cut across the middle of the field. They can burn you down the sideline and everything in between. So I believe that this is a very dynamic offense, but I do believe that it all starts in the trenches, and I hope and I pray that this offensive line can keep Taylor Heineke upright. That way they don't see another Ryan Fitzpatrick situation.
It's going to be the storyline for both teams going into this matchup. Who has the stronger offensive line? Who can keep their quarterback upright the longest? And at the end of the day, I've got to side with you. I think Washington is overall the stronger team. Joe Judge is doing a fantastic job over in New York, but I think that they still have a tremendous amount of work to do. And right now you have the Giants offensive line listed as the worst in the NFL. They need to improve. This is something that is going to be heavily exploited in this matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 7, 8 sacks from the Washington defense. Daniel Jones does not do well under pressure, and he's going to see a lot of it almost every single play. That's why it is imperative that they get Saquon Barkley integrated into this offense once and for all. There's no reason you draft a guy second overall just to hold him back because you think he may get injured. You got to use the guy that you draft. You've got to use him as much as you possibly can. He is one of the best running backs in the league. It's about time you use him as such.
Absolutely. And on the flip side of the coin, I want to see specific players get involved for the Washington football team, mainly Antonio Gibson. I mentioned what he can do receiving out of the backfield, but I also know what he can do in between the tackles. And I want to see him get more than 20 carries for 90 yards this week, because I believe that the key to keeping your quarterback upright is a rushing game that can stymie a defense. If you do not continue to run the ball on a consistent basis throughout the game, then they are going to pin their ears back and come after your quarterback, play in and play out. And that's what we see when teams are falling behind in each game. I think that Antonio Gibson and JD McKissic, they need to get more opportunities going through the tackles and getting more carries in the running game than they do in the passing game. That way they can keep Taylor Heineke right. They can make sure that he's still within the rhythm and the flow of the game, and they can rely on their defense to get the stops that they need and play ball control on the offensive side.
All right, so as I said, I do believe Washington will edge this one out, but I think these defenses are very strong going up against weaker offenses, and I think it's going to be a fairly low-scoring game. I will be taking the Washington football team to beat the New York Giants 17-10 in our Week 2 Thursday night matchup.
Yeah, I have Washington taking this one home as well, and I believe it's going to be a little higher scoring, but only on one side of the ball. I believe this is going to be a 24-6 victory for the Washington football team.
Wow. Very surprising. I think I got to give the Giants offense a little bit more credit than that. Kenny G, Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley. These are dogs. You got to give them some credit, man.
Not if they don't have time. But I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about this game, who you think is going to come out on top, and what your score predictions are. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.